Good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Sedona.biz. My name's Steve Duvall. We are here today with Warren Woodward, who's with the Sedona Smart Meter Awareness. And today I looked at the newspaper and saw that there is a letter to the editor about smart meters. So we have invited Warren to come on here and talk about some of the pros and cons, some of the fallacies perhaps in this letter. So let's just cut to Warren. Hi, Warren.
Hi, everybody at home. Somebody brought this letter to my attention, and it's pretty remarkable. I'm all for hyperbole, but this letter's just off the charts. Even in the first sentence, the guy uses the word hysteria. He says that the presentation that we did at the Sedona City Council on smart meters was little more than inflammatory language.
That's hard to believe. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't at the meeting.
That's just what
he was there?
Yeah, that's just what I was wondering myself, Steve. Because we presented fact after fact, study after study. It was a fairly brisk-paced PowerPoint presentation that we did, but we were also under time constraints. We were representing information. Some of these reports are 80, 25, 18 pages long. It's hard to get all that into one presentation, but we did, and most people thought it was a good presentation, except for Mr. Michael Burdick here, who wrote this letter.
Well, I was there at the presentation, and I know that there was a mountain of material to give to the people, and I know you had to go quickly, but I thought that it was a pretty comprehensive presentation nonetheless.
Yeah, thanks. I thought so too. And he says that the council members who voted to send a letter to the Arizona Corporation Commission in an attempt to defend Sedona from smart meters, he says they, quote, sided with hysteria. And, nobody there was being hysterical, except for maybe the APS employees who were kind of hysterically funny with some of their equivocation.
That was very interesting. They would get a direct question, and you'd get this long, circuitous answer that didn't answer the question and had nothing to do with what the question was about.
Exactly.
And that actually has a tendency to make people upset.
Yeah.
Just answer the question, would you please?
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to this guy's letter, he tries to take me apart on a couple of different points, and one of them is that he quotes me as saying that the smart meters are the biggest Fourth Amendment violation in the history of this country, and then he goes on to say that the Fourth Amendment restricts government actions. Arizona Public Service isn't a government agency. Well, technically, he's true on that score, but and this remains to be settled in the court of law, I might add. Arizona Public Service is actually regulated by they are a monopoly, so they're regulated by the government. So any decisions that the ACC makes regarding smart meters can then become a Fourth Amendment violation, in my opinion. Again, this hasn't been settled in the court of law, but then you have other utilities around the nation that aren't investor-owned utilities like APS is. They're actually municipal-owned. And so, in fact, those municipalities are engaging in Fourth Amendment violations.
Well,
so he's trying to catch me out. He's trying to catch me out on a technicality here, but it ain't working.
Indeed. I've read in numerous places where internet and radio frequency can be intercepted quite easily. There's a young high school fellow that's been doing it for a long time. And of course, we all know about the NSA problems too. They, in some way or another, are describing how radio signals and internet signals can be intercepted.
Well, sure. Even the Microsoft Corporation says on their website that it's impossible to secure a wireless network. I mean, flat out. They're just saying it. And so for this guy, that brings up another point of his letter where he says that concerned about hacking and privacy invasion are overblown. You have to wonder where this guy's been. We all know there's surveillance cameras in almost every town in America now tracking your every move. There's the NSA stuff that you just brought up. One of the things we brought out in our PowerPoint presentation is that there's a Congressional Research Service report. Now, the Congressional Research Service is a branch of the Library of Congress, and it's where Congress people go for information. If they want to report on something, they ask the Congressional Research Service. They did a multi-page report on the security violations that are possible with a smart meter, and they go into the whole legal implications and whatnot, and they show actual graphs in there of how smart meters and software to monitor smart meter data can determine exactly what appliances you're using. Your entire home life can be displayed with a $3 chip that's available from Motorola.
Why would that be important?
Oh, for a lot of reasons. I mean, burglars can figure out your time when you're home. They can figure out exactly what you've got and if it's worth, going to this house or that house. The Congressional Research, I don't think like a criminal, but the Congressional Research Service did a very good job of going through there and realizing that, companies could find out about warranty violations, medical insurance companies could figure out if you were using the product you were supposed to use or using the product you weren't supposed to use. It's on and on.
They might even find out if you tore the little label off of your pillow.
They might, yeah, they might. And, I was just talking to a computer expert the other day, and he was saying that anybody who doesn't think there's been a back door built into the system for government surveillance is just kidding themselves in today's world.
It's amazing. I mean, everything that we do is watched and recorded one way or another.
Yeah.
One of the issues that was brought up in this editorial comment was that the smart meters, not only are they not secure, and they emit radio frequency, and they emit far less frequency and radio waves than a cell phone.
Well, that's what this guy claims here, and it's quite amusing because he cites Richard Tell Associates for that statement. And everybody who's studied this issue knows that Richard Tell Associates is basically an industry shill. I mean, he's a mercenary scientist for hire, and he actually used to work for the EPA. When he was at the EPA, he helped write the FCC rules concerning this radio frequency radiation. And then he goes into the private sector and makes a living showing how industry can comply with the rules, with the slack rules, by the way, that he helped write. So when I see Richard Tell, it's like a big red flag. What he's referring to here, this 100 times the power of a cell phone, that's been debunked. It's.
How can he make a statement like that? I mean, is it so blatant, or are we trying to compare apples and oranges?
Well, a lot of people make this statement. That's in the CCST report, and one of the things they're basing it on is they're basing it on. First of all, they don't use the peak power. One of the things that the FCC rules do is they average out all the peak spikes in the power. And so you could have spikes way up here, but when you average it out, and we showed this in our PowerPoint with graphs and everything, you could have peak spikes up here, but then it averages out down here, and so then you're in compliance because you're actually down here. But this whole thing about averaging power density, suppose I were to hit you with a hammer, I think it would hurt. But if we average that power density out over time, I can show you on paper how you won't feel a thing if I hit you with a hammer. And that's kind of how this bogus science work, how these bogus FCC rules that Richard Tell helped write, that's how they work. And you can basically drive a truck through them.
I see how they do that. So these are radio transmitters that are sending out radio waves. They're only going to the telephone pole out in front, right, of your house?
Well, that's another point that this guy brings up. And he says, where is it here? Oh, I can't really find it right here, but oh yeah, meters need only reach the street. It would be economically foolish to employ high-powered transmitters. First of all, they don't have to reach the street, and I'm not so sure that the power is that much of an issue. But you got to understand, not every place is built like Sedona, where the meter is sitting on the house. There's a lot of places, San Francisco, I've seen pictures of meters in basements. They need enough power to get out of that basement, to go through the walls and reach the next meter or the next router. And there are meters inside garages. There are meters inside of buildings that need to break out of that. Generally speaking, the range of a smart meter is about the length of a football. The biological effects of a smart meter are about the length of a football field, including the end zones.
So they are indeed dangerous then. It's just a matter of the way they've made their calculations, make it sound safe, but they're really not.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, you're basically, if you think it's okay to be bombarded with microwave radiation 24/7, 365, then you don't have to worry, But, people's blood work shows that it does have an effect on you, whether you're showing symptoms or not. I would invite your readers to do a YouTube search for Dr. Klinghardt, and he will explain all of that to you, how there are certain inflammatory markers in your blood that he looks at, and he's compared people in a house that have a smart meter, one of which has symptoms, one of which doesn't, but both of them, their blood work shows the same inflammatory markers. So it's affecting everybody.
So let's talk about opting out. That seems to be a bone of contention, and that is indeed what the city council decided. Not that we're against smart meters, but that the opting out process is just completely inappropriate.
Well, if you're living next to a bank of 50 meters, in an apartment complex, and you opt out, you still have 49 meters there. And if your bedroom is on the other side, you're screwed. And so opt out really doesn't work. There needs to be a safety recall. And that was one thing that this guy did get right in his letter, where he calls out APS for charging ridiculous fees for people who do want to opt out. But really, the whole program needs to have a safety recall.
Back to the opting out thing, somehow it seems not right that they want to charge you for not accepting the new smart meters.
Exactly. This is like getting a bill from the airlines for not flying.
Exactly.
It's just insanity to charge people for a product they don't want. And the other thing is that these things were as great at saving energy that the power companies claim, people would willingly pay for one. And if you want to monitor your electricity consumption with the rigorousness that these things provide, you can go out and you can buy like an $18 kilowatt device that you plug into. There's no radio frequency. I've had one in the past, and it keeps track of your usage. I had an appliance that I wanted to see what exactly it was using and keep track of it. And they're very effective. They work great, $18. So, for the people who want to be obsessive compulsive, there are other ways to do it.
In the remaining few moments that we have, I'd like to ask you about, in the opting out process, who are, well, not necessarily in the opting out process, but who are the experts and where are they getting their information? Why are the experts telling us that they're safe, and why do other people do research and tell us that they're not safe?
Well, most of the studies that show that, this is a softball question, Steve. most of the studies that show, that there's no harm are all industry funded, or they're government funded. And you have to remember that the government is just as tainted as industry now, because basically industry has captured government. And there is this revolving door in so many industries. Our government, our U.S. government, has subsidized smart meters to the tune of $3.4 billion. So do you think they're going to come out with any studies that show that this program is wrong? I don't think so. So there's an independent, there are independent studies that show harm. And basically, that's how it works. Independent studies show harm. Industry and government studies show no harm.
It's like a feasibility study. You can get a feasibility study about anything, and you can make it say whatever you want it to say.
Oh yeah, that's how it works. Yeah,
that's how it works in this world, anyhow.
Yeah.
So, kind of wrapping up here. Any closing thoughts that you might have, Warren? Anything to share with us? Where do we go from here?
Well, I would just urge everyone, first of all, who's watching, to call APS if you haven't already and tell them you want to opt out. If they try and intimidate you with huge fees, telling you that there will be huge fees, then you need to complain to the APS, because intimidation is abuse, and abuse is actually a crime in Arizona law by the utilities. So Gary Pierce, who's a commissioner at the Arizona Corporation Commission, is actually taking calls from anybody who's been abused, because this has been an issue. Sometimes the phone call with APS goes smoothly, sometimes it doesn't. But that's the first thing, Steve, that people need to do, is they need to call up, even though the Sedona Council has urged for a community-wide opt-out. That's maybe going to happen or maybe not going to happen. So in the meantime, individuals need to make their voices heard. They need to contact APS, and they also need to contact the ACC and tell them they don't want this smart meter program.
Thank you, Warren, for coming on today. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, ladies. Yes, indeed. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you very soon. If you see some news happening around town, give us a call, send us an email at pr@sedona.biz, and we'll follow your news story. So thank you so much. Be seeing you real soon.